This is Mattie. She's a 5-month-old standard poodle. She's not so great on the leash. Okay, young lady. Would you like to learn to walk nicely on the leash? So, leash in hand, loop over thumb, dog on your left. Give them just a little bit of rope. Mattie, sit. Good girl. Start them in a sit. Next to you, not in front of you. Grab some yummy treats. Session begins. Okay. For dogs that aren't so great on the leash, I do recommend you start in the house, because once you get outside, they're going to be really crazy. So all we're going to do, every time she comes, good girl, every time she comes around in front, good girl. I'm just going to keep her on the side. Good girl. Good girl. Leave it. Mattie, leave it. Good girl. Okay. All right, so we start. Good girl. I'm just going to wait for her. Good girl. Good girl to have a loose leash. Now, I'm not holding the leash properly, but that's because I have treats in one hand. As long as I'm not holding her in place like this. I'm actually giving her some rope. That's a good girl. And as long as she has a loose leash, I'm going to reward her. Good girl. And I want her to eventually stop automatically like she just did when I stopped. Good girl. Good girl. That's a good girl. Good girl. What you want to eventually have your dog do, or ultimately, is that she looks at you, checks in with you like she's doing, which they will do. Good girl. Once you start training them properly on the leash, they know that you're at the other end of the leash. And that's how that's going to work. So you just start and stop every few steps in the beginning. So you're literally not taking very many steps at all. Good girl. Good girl. So she's always checking in with me. Good girl. Good girl. If I think good girl, if I think she's going to go out in front, I'm going to use my body to stop her. Good girl. Okay, that's the end of lesson 1.